Okay, one moment while I share my screen. We're gonna go to this one and click. Okay, can you guys see me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, and can you guys see the Omen Wellness screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, that's half the battle right there. Okay, welcome everyone tonight. We're going to go over a real life example of the hair tissue mineral analysis, or HTMA. So this is part 3 of a 3-part series that I created to explain to you about functional medicine and my first service, and teach you some about minerals. So day 1 was an introduction to functional medicine and how it could change your life. Day 2 was why the hair tissue mineral analysis will blow your mind. And day 3 is an example of a hair tissue mineral analysis, which is actually my results that I just got back. So I'm going to share those with you. So we're going to start off with mineral myths versus fiction. I'm kind of going to challenge some recommendations, some blanket statement recommendations. And then I will go through my HTMA with you guys, and then I'll go over pricing and a limited time offer. And then we'll wrap up, and if you have any questions, I will answer those as well. Okay, so here are some blanket recommendations that you may have heard. Women are more likely to develop osteoporosis, so all women should supplement with calcium and vitamin D. We'll see if that's true for me or not. Most people are deficient in magnesium, so everyone should supplement with magnesium. Will that be true for me? Stay tuned to find out. And the last one I want to challenge is the most common mineral deficiency worldwide is iron, so everyone should supplement with iron. So we will answer these questions throughout the presentation. So this is what the HTMA looks like. This is page 1. You see there are nutritional elements here, toxic elements here, which are heavy metals. These are what they call additional elements. They're not as well studied, but they put them here because they are being researched right now. And then this is what page 2 looks like. We have significant ratios, which is like the magical part of the HTMA, and we'll get into that later. This toxic ratios, it looks scary, but it's not, because this chart's actually read backwards. Yesterday in the presentation, I had mentioned that elements on the periodic table, if they're close to one another, can be a reason why you're holding on to a certain heavy metal. So for example, this one I'm just going to touch on briefly, the zinc to mercury. So I have a little bit of mercury in my system, and zinc and mercury are close to each other on the periodic table. And because I'm actually deficient in zinc, that means that my body could be holding on to mercury. So a simple way to get rid of mercury in that case, or help my body eliminate mercury, would be to replenish zinc. But the levels are all supposed to be up here for this particular chart. And if they're down here, that's actually the problem. It's just saying you can supplement with whatever mineral compared to that heavy metal to help replenish to get rid of the heavy metal and replenish your deficiency. And then this part is additional ratios, again, something they're studying, but not something we pay that much attention to. The key things we're going to pay attention to today are this section, the nutritional elements, and mostly this section, the significant ratios. When we balance minerals, it's not unusual. Speaking of heavy metals, this is the last thing I'm going to say, I think, about heavy metals today. It's not unusual to see heavy metals rise in a particular metal following HTMA. So what I'm saying is, like, let's say this is my HTMA now, and I work on balancing my minerals, and 3 to 4 months from now, I retest my HTMA. And what if aluminum actually goes up? That doesn't necessarily mean I've consumed more aluminum in the last 3 to 4 months. It could just mean that my body's actually doing a better job at clearing out the aluminum and it's coming out in my hair. My body is eliminating it better. But it doesn't always happen that way, so that can be kind of tricky to tell. Okay, we're going to talk about the nutritional elements, and we're going to go through all of these. So the past 6 months, as you guys know, I've been traveling and I haven't been really consuming any supplements at all. So, but I do try my best to eat a balanced diet, always looking for protein, carbs, fats, micronutrients, and fiber for the majority of my meals. So I've done a really good job at that. But as you can see, I still have some nutritional deficiencies. So I need to supplement with some things to get them back up. We're going to start over here on this side and kind of just point them out. You want the elements to be kind of here in the middle. And if they're in this gray spot up here, it's too high. And if it's in this gray spot down here, it's too low. So that's kind of how you read this. So calcium, and it tells you what my calcium level is down here. And I wrote what the ideal level is here. So if my calcium is 75 and the ideal range is 63, my calcium's a bit too high. It's technically still within a normal range, but it's on the high end of normal. Magnesium, my magnesium was an 8. Ideal is a 6. And I'm actually up here in the gray, so my magnesium is too high. Sodium, my sodium was a 6. It's very low, actually. It's supposed to be a 19. Potassium was 4, and it's supposed to be 13. Copper is low, a little bit low. It's supposed to be 2.2. I'm at 1.5. My zinc is low. It's 11, and it should be 16. My phosphorus is a little bit low. Right, and then I'm just going to go through these real quick. Iron was fine. Manganese was a little low. Chromium was perfect. This is okay. Boron was a bit low. Cobalt was fine, and molybdenum was a bit low, and sulfur is fine. So that's kind of how you would read all of those. All right, these first 4 minerals are the most important: calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. They're called the first level minerals. And when it comes to balancing minerals, if we can get the first 4 minerals in balance, then 80% of the work is done. So we're going to spend time tonight talking about these 4. And then we're going to go into the significant ratios because that's where the magic is. I want to take the most time to talk about calcium, which is, the very first one here on the first level minerals. Calcium is so important. Probably like the most important one. If it's too low, your metabolism is too fast and you are having to go into your tissues to get energy, which is referred to as a catabolic state. Your body needs the calcium from somewhere, so it starts to break down the bone to get it. And over time, that can lead to osteoporosis. Some other signs would be feeling anxiety, palpitations, muscle cramps, or like feeling sweaty a lot. If your calcium is too high, then your metabolism is too slow, and then you could have weight gain or difficulty losing weight. And then if it's extremely high, like over 175, this is referred to as calcium shell. Too much calcium is bad because it calcifies or hardens things. This was discovered by Dr. Eck around 1980. And maybe you've heard of hard water causing a mineral buildup in your plumbing. Well, it can do the same thing to your blood vessels. And that's not good. So plaques can build up in your arteries and cause heart damage or increase your risk for heart attacks. The calcium shell is like a physical barrier. getting in the way of other nutrients getting into the cell. So, for example, maybe you are consuming enough magnesium, but you're experiencing symptoms of low magnesium. It's because magnesium is having trouble getting into the cell because there's too much calcium, which is blocking it from doing so. You may also be experiencing symptoms of hypothyroidism when nothing is actually wrong with your thyroid, but in fact, your thyroid hormone simply cannot get into the cell because calcium is blocking it.
Hmm.
Once the shell is created, it's hard for even calcium to get into the cell to do its job. So calcium starts to build up in places where it shouldn't, in the joints, the organs, the brain. So it can be quite dangerous. And there's a theory that's called the protective wall theory or emotional theory, that the body is creating a literal shell to protect itself from further trauma, whether it be environmental trauma or emotional trauma. Because people who have this calcium shell tend to experience higher levels of emotional symptoms, which could include emotional numbness, apathy, depression, lethargy, mood swings, denial, defensiveness, or being out of touch with reality.
I
And
bet.
it's not unusual for calcium shell to coincide with copper toxicity because those two minerals work synergistically to each other. And copper toxicity also is very associated with these emotional type symptoms or even psychological symptoms.
I have a question. Sorry. I have a
Yeah.
question. So if that's interesting with if you're like all your minerals are like in balance, does it break down that shell? How do you reverse that shell if you have it? You know what I mean?
Yes. So there are some things that we can do. Of course, we would limit calcium. If you're taking any calcium supplements, of course, you'd have to stop that. We'd want a diet lower in calcium. But how do we break the shell? There's some supplements we would need to add. Well, first of all, dealing with emotional trauma may be helpful for these people, especially. But also, for example, vitamin K2 is known to help drive calcium into the cells where they're
Mm.
supposed to go because they're not in the cells, right? They're accumulating in the joints and wherever else, they're all over the place. So vitamin K2 can be helpful. Um, boron can be helpful. Boron can be helpful for more than one reason. It can drive calcium back into the cell as well. Um, magnesium and unrefined sea salt, and sometimes iodine can be helpful as well because that can reduce calcium. So there are some things that we can do supplement wise, and it'll probably take a long time to for for calcium to have gotten that extremely high to have built the calcium shell. It's going to take a lot of time to get it broken up. So it's going to be a lot of like stress reduction, trauma therapy, supplements, and time, basically. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious. I was like, how would, how does that happen? If it does happen, how does it get corrected? Like it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. There are minerals that you can give and vitamins to that can reduce or antagonize calcium. So we would be doing that. So, for example, vitamin B1, which is thiamine, is also a way to decrease calcium. So there are different things that we can give to help that along. Okay, so here was the blanket recommendation that women are more likely to develop osteoporosis, so all women should take a calcium supplement and vitamin D. Well, women are more prone to developing osteoporosis than men, especially after menopause, because their estrogen levels drop. And that's because estrogen works synergistically to calcium. And we discussed that too much calcium can slow metabolism, harden blood vessels, and possibly interfere with the ability of other nutrients and hormones entering the cell. So why would I supplement? My levels were on the high end of normal, and vitamin D increases calcium levels, and I don't want to increase my calcium levels, so I don't need vitamin D or calcium. So just because it's true for many doesn't mean it's true for me or you. Next, let's talk about magnesium. So my magnesium levels are too high. Calcium and magnesium are synergistic. So if you notice, they're both pretty high, right? Calcium's on the high end of normal and magnesium is high. So usually, well, pretty much always, you'll see them together, either high or together low. They're synergistic. So, sorry, I lost my place. Most of the time, if you're low in calcium, you are low in magnesium, which means your metabolism is too fast, just like we mentioned before. So, so your body, you get into a catabolic state. Your body needs to get calcium and magnesium from somewhere. So now it's breaking down the tissues to get it. Same symptoms. Low magnesium is same symptoms as low calcium, therefore. Anxiety, palpitations, muscle cramps, sweating. I forgot to mention constipation earlier. And then if magnesium is too high, then your calcium is too high and your metabolism is too slow. So same thing we said before. Some other things with magnesium, if it's high, diarrhea can occur, but when magnesium is very high, constipation can occur. Because remember, when magnesium is high, calcium is high, and we said that too much calcium can block magnesium from entering the cell. So a very high magnesium level will give you the same symptoms as a very low magnesium level, because on a cellular level, you are deficient in magnesium because it's not getting into the cell, if that makes sense. So, and both too high or too low magnesium can put you at risk for heart attacks because you have an absolute deficiency or you have like kind of a relative deficiency. So back to the blanket recommendation, most people are deficient in magnesium, so everyone should supplement. And although most Americans are experiencing symptoms of either a relative or absolute magnesium deficiency because of some of those factors we discussed yesterday, right? Like stress, high consumption of alcohol and caffeine, not everyone should supplement. So I shouldn't supplement. My magnesium is high. So I don't need that to go up and I don't need calcium to go up. So in fact, reducing my magnesium and calcium will help improve my metabolism a bit. And here we go again, just because it's true for many doesn't mean it's true for me and you. That's kind of going to be the catchphrase for tonight. So I'm going to kind of briefly talk on sodium and potassium together because these are also synergistic. They work together. So sodium and potassium will almost always be low together or high together, or, you know, wherever they are, if they're normal, they'll be normal together. They work together. And we're going to talk about sodium and potassium more when we get to the significant ratios, but I'll just touch briefly. Too high sodium is associated with high blood pressure. Too low sodium or potassium can cause muscle cramps, fatigue, headaches, nausea, restlessness, or confusion. And then very high or very low potassium levels can cause weakness, high blood pressure, palpitations, and heart attacks. Okay, so iron is not a first level mineral, but because it is worldwide the most common mineral deficiency, I wanted to touch on it because that's a myth that you'll hear. I mean, the actual part that it's the most common mineral deficiency in the world is not a myth, but the fact that everyone should supplement with iron is the myth. So my iron levels, if you'll see, it's a 1.1 and it should be a 1.3. So it's pretty close to ideal. Should I supplement? So it wouldn't hurt me to probably eat some extra steak or iron-rich foods, especially during my cycle, but iron supplementation is not necessary, especially for like daily for a prolonged period of time, because if you gradually build your iron levels, it could get too high, right? So if it gets up here, what can start happening is it deposits in your organs, your liver, your heart, your pancreas, and that can lead to disease and sometimes even death in extreme cases. And just because it's true for many doesn't mean it's true for me and you. And it's better to test than guess, especially when it comes to supplementing with supplements. Okay, we're going to talk about the significant ratios, and this can tell you a lot about yourself. It can tell you about your metabolism, your stress levels, your thyroid function, your hormone function, your adrenal function, your blood sugar ratio function, or the function of your insulin, I guess I should say there, and your immune system function. So that isn't that amazing that all these levels, the ratios of one mineral to another, can tell you, more information about what's going on in your body. So the first one is calcium to phosphorus. So I have too much calcium compared to phosphorus. So in this situation, my calcium could be reduced or my phosphorus could be increased to improve this level. We want to bring it down from up here to down here. What could this mean? Well, first of all, we said either high calcium or relatively high calcium slows your metabolism. So I have a slow metabolism. And then increasing phosphorus, this could mean either I'm not eating enough protein, or it could mean that I'm having issues digesting my protein. I have reason to believe it's the digestion part because I did go through some testing last year, which I have not retested, but I will retest eventually this year, because that's one of the tests we'll be offering in the future, is the gut checks. Okay, so that's what that means. So isn't that cool? You can also see whether or not you're eating enough protein or getting enough protein just from this. Okay, sodium to potassium. This is called the stress ratio. And my level is indicative that I'm experiencing like I'm burnt out or chronically stressed. So I did experience, I went through extreme burnout with my job, 2 years ago-ish. And I'm still recovering from that. Maybe it was like a year and a half ago that I quit anyway. So it can take years to recover from burnout. I'm not as feeling a lot of this stuff anymore because I'm on my way to recovery. But yeah, especially when you're first going through burnout, you'll feel chronically stressed, resentful, hostile. I was all of those things, but not so much anymore. I've dealt with a lot of the emotional stuff there. But I do feel like I don't want to get burnt out again. So I am taking things easy. It also says that you may have poor digestion. See, that keeps coming up. And I know that it's true. So it could also indicate allergies, carbohydrate intolerance, poor immunity, liver or kidney stress. All right, next one is calcium to potassium. And this is the thyroid ratio. And my level was at 18.75. So it being way up here is indicative that I have a sluggish thyroid. So that could either mean that I have an iodine deficiency, or in the case that if I had calcium shell, that would mean that it could just mean that the thyroid isn't getting to the cell. But I don't have calcium shell. So it's likely that I have an iodine deficiency. Okay, zinc to copper. This is called the hormone ratio. So the balance of zinc to copper. My level was normal, but I am actually deficient in both zinc and copper. So although the ratio to one another is good, I still need to supplement with both zinc and copper to get my levels back up. Okay, this was the big one for me. This is called the adrenal ratio because my sodium is so low. If you have a level less than 1, this indicates extreme adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is a term that is not medically accepted by diagnostic standards, but the term does indicate that your adrenal output is trending to be underactive. So I have underactive adrenal output is probably a more medically acceptable way of describing that. So the adrenals sit on top of your kidneys and they produce hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, and aldosterone. The decrease in adrenal function is likely due to chronic stress or exhaustion. So this is coming back from my stress levels that I went through the extreme burnout, and could also be a sign of poor digestion. So I need to work on my digestion. Okay, calcium to magnesium. This is called the blood sugar ratio. So I am within a normal range, but kind of up here on the higher end of normal. So it's just something to keep an eye on. If you had a higher number, anything over 13, that could indicate you're eating too many carbs and sugar. And when it's higher, you actually have a risk of going hypoglycemic. Okay, iron to copper. This is called the immune ratio. And you want your level between 0.2 and 1.6. And mine was 0.73, so I have, this indicates a healthy immune system. Yay! Okay, so then if you were to hire me, I would go through all of that with you, and then I would go through some recommendations, starting with dietary. So this is an example on my analysis. So my recommendations to me would be sea salt, because I am low in sodium. And you want your sea salt to be more of that brownish color. Stay away from the white salt because the white salt is purely sodium. Whereas if you get the brown colored salts or the colored salts, they have other minerals in them that's going to balance out the sodium. Potassium, cream of tartar from the grocery store is actually potassium. And you can also get potassium from coconut water, bananas. Another for digestion, eating mostly cooked veggies versus a bunch of raw veggies, because that can be harder on your digestion. Making sure I'm eating enough protein, which my recommendation is 0.8 times your body weight in pounds. And mostly animal protein, because that is better absorbed and utilized in your body. You want to eat mostly whole foods and eat adequate amount of macronutrients, micronutrients, and fiber. My free nutrition guide on my website kind of talks to you about how to eat these balanced meals to prevent nutritional deficiencies and to improve blood sugar stability. And that's available on omenwellness.com. It's a little pop-up box that comes up. I would want to limit sugar and refined carbs. I would want to, I did have a couple of heavy metals. So examine the source of my water, or avoid well water. And then here's for digestion: eat in a relaxed state. Chew your food well prior to swallowing. It's something so simple, but especially at my last job, I didn't really get a lunch break. So I was just shoveling food down my throat for 14 years. And it's really, even now, I have to consciously be like, stop eating so fast, chew your food. Like every time I eat, relax, breathe in between bites. It really can help improve your digestion. And then drinking a hot tea afterwards may be helpful also. You want to avoid alcohol, limit alcohol, because that's terrible on your digestion. And for me, I need to reduce calcium-rich foods. And then I would also give you this little chart. This comes from the lab company, actually, based on the mineral profile. Foods to limit and foods to eat more of. Then I would go through some lifestyle recommendations. So this would be, for me, rest, sleep, and stress management. So trying to get 8 hours of sleep at night, keep the room dark, turn off electronics 1 hour before bed, There's a saying that says 2 hours of sleep before midnight are worth 4 hours of sleep after midnight for the adrenal glands. So if you're having stretched adrenals, trying to get to bed, before midnight is preferable. You could also take a short break during the day if you can to do a short meditation, breath work, or even just like a short nap would be good. Incorporate more forms of self-care. Here's some I listed. Doesn't mean you would have to do all of them, but pick one or two. Massage, reflexology, therapy, counseling, acupuncture, breath work, meditation, yoga, stretching, tai chi, gratitudes, affirmations, prayer, and or consuming personal development books and content. I'd also recommend sauna therapy 1 to 2 times a week. It's good because it can help with a lot of the stress and more, but you don't want to overdo it. Like sweating is good to help get rid of some of the toxins too, like if you had heavy metals. But since my adrenals are weak and I'm low in sodium, I don't want to sweat too much because I don't want to lose more sodium and put more pressure on my adrenals. So I'd probably just start at like 8 minutes once a week, then maybe 8 minutes twice a week. I could potentially work my way up, but definitely no more than 15 minutes. And I wouldn't be doing that every single day of the week. Okay, exercise. Regular exercise has so many benefits for your mental and physical health. Aim for at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, even if it's just a walk. Weightlifting has additional benefits to your health versus cardiovascular exercise alone. Aim to lift weights at least 3 days a week if you can, but if you're just starting out, you can just start off once a week and then work your way up. My personal goal is to lift 5 days a week. And when I'm lifting too, here's the thing, if you have adrenal fatigue like I do, is like you want to take lots of rest in between your sets. I call myself a lazy lifter because I don't want to put too much stress or sweat too much, so I just kind of do my work. I still challenge myself, but then I take the time to recuperate before I do my next set. I avoid the HIIT style workouts because I don't want to feel like I'm dying. That's going to put a lot of extra stress on my body and on my adrenals. Another recommendation is to get outdoors more. Being in nature has additional health benefits beyond just the benefits you get from the physical activity that you're probably doing outside. So like plants, human needs sunshine. It's also a source of vitamin D. Now that's not something I would be concerned about in terms of we all need sunshine. But if you had high calcium, I wouldn't be like, don't go outside, because vitamin D can raise calcium. I would just say don't supplement with vitamin D. You can still get outside. And then you want to limit your toxic exposure. Where is your heavy metal coming from? And what can you do to eliminate or reduce your exposure? So I had significant levels of uranium in my system, and I have more than one reason to believe that I got exposed in Los Angeles County. But I'm no longer being exposed, so that takes care of one problem. Then aluminum, I have a little bit of aluminum. So things I can do is maybe switch my deodorants, because a lot of deodorants have aluminum, or avoid cooking acidic foods in aluminum foil or aluminum cookware. And then mercury, I'm trying to be more mindful of the fish that I'm consuming and making sure that I'm not picking ones that are known to have mercury in them. So supplements, I will give you 2 things of supplements. One is like something you can do right away, and the second, right away while you're waiting on your real supplements to come in the mail. So for me, what I recommended was to get the unrefined sea salt, cream of tartar, lemons, and apple cider vinegar with mother. To support the adrenals, I need more sodium and I need more potassium. So I made a little concoction with 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar and a pinch of unrefined sea salt and about 1/2 cup of water, and drink that once a day. If I happen to have sweated a lot that day, I could do it twice a day. Or if I went to the sauna and sweated a lot, I could do it again, And then to support gut health, that's where the apple cider vinegar with the mother comes in, because the mother is probiotics. And so we're going to mix the 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with some lemon juice, because vitamin C is good at helping you clear heavy metals. And so you would do that. I would do that before breakfast. And then I also suggested having a hot cup of tea after your largest meal of the day. So these are the supplements, kind of a lot. But it depends what comes up on your HTMA. I have had HTMAs come back where I only recommended 2 supplements. And then not all of these are necessarily 100% necessary, but I want to get them for a certain reason. Like if I just had to pick one, it would be this adrenal complex, because that's my number one problem, is that my adrenals need support. But let's start at the top and why I recommended what I did and why I'm getting these. So vitamin K2. So my calcium is kind of high, especially relatively. We saw in the significant ratios, calcium to phosphorus was way too high. I need to lower that calcium and increase that phosphorus to help improve my metabolism. Go back over here. So vitamin K2 drives calcium back into the bone where it belongs. So that can help reduce some of that calcium out of the hair and out of the tissues where it doesn't belong. And then another thing was boron. And I had mentioned this a little bit to you, Kim. You had asked how to reduce calcium. So boron helps lower calcium. It also has a beneficial effect on estrogen. It also helps put magnesium back into the cells. And my magnesium you saw was high. It protects against oxidative stress from heavy metals, and I have some heavy metals. And it also is, what's cool, it's from the Great Salt Lake, and it contains trace amounts of 72 naturally occurring minerals. So you saw I was kind of deficient in a bunch of minerals. So I like that it's a multi-mineral drop, and it just has extra boron in it. And then we saw from one of my ratios that I have probable iodine deficiency. So I got this kelp. Kelp from the sea is a good source of iodine, and that can also help treat high calcium or lower the calcium. And it can also improve thyroid function. So my adrenal complex is pretty cool. It has adrenal and spleen glandulars. I know that sounds gross, but from cows. We'll see how that works. It's supposed to help me start producing what I need to produce. So also it has vitamin A in there, which is good for slow metabolizers because it can help reduce calcium levels. It also has B vitamins in there, which is also good for slow metabolizers for energy production. And B vitamins can also reduce calcium levels. And then also vitamin C not only helps to reduce calcium, but is also helpful in the elimination of heavy metals like aluminum. So we had noted that I am deficient in zinc and copper. So I'm going to take some of that. It's a zinc plus copper in one supplement, excuse me. And I know I have an issue with acne. I've had it my whole life, and I've done a bunch of different things. And I know there are certain things that make it worse and make it better. Zinc, it may be one of these things because I'm deficient in it, could be a contributing factor in my acne. So I'm going to be supplementing with that. So we had saw several times digestion came up. So I'm actually going to take a hydrochloric acid and pepsin supplement during the middle of my protein-rich meals to help me break down the protein and hopefully increase that phosphorus level. That would help improve my metabolism. And then last but not least is this binder, which I haven't started it yet, but I'm hoping that it's going to help bind some of the heavy metal that I have in my body to get rid of it. And so I would be supplementing these for 3 to 4 months, and then I would retest and we'll see what I can get rid of, because if my zinc level is good, I'm going to stop that. If my boron level is good, I'm going to stop that. My calcium and my magnesium has come down. I can stop the K2. So the idea is not to be on supplements forever, because if you watched yesterday's videos, we talked about how they're all connected and how they can create mineral imbalances. So this is kind of a lot of supplements. There is a company called Vicon that could custom put most of these into a powder, and then you just take that powder twice a day. But it is a lot more expensive. And for more information about Vicon supplements, check out the video from yesterday. Okay, pricing. So we're going to go over pricing today, and then I'll have a special offer. So this is my website. You can schedule, if you want to talk to me more about this without committing, you can just schedule the free 15-minute call. I'll be happy to talk to you and answer any other questions you have. Then there's the basic minerals, which is what I just showed you. I would go over your HTMA with you and go over all those and recommend supplements or treatments to you. So that's $375. Then there's this other option, which is everything I just said before. You still get your one-on-one, you still get your test, but you also get 8 weeks of coaching, which is every other week a live Zoom call that's private. And that one is technically, and I'm going to go over the details of that, but it's over a $1,000 value technically, but I'm offering it for half off right now for $536. So, and there's a free nutrition guide that comes with both. Whoops. So with the 8-week program, I'm also going to do one live exercise session on Zoom also. So there'll be 5 Zoom calls technically. There will also be a private Facebook community where you guys can go and ask questions or connect or share recipes or whatever you want to do. And you'll also get 10% off supplements in my supplement store. And I'll give you a PO-op. And the PO-op will make you eligible for special offers. So right now, this is $536. But wait, there will be more. But before I get there, I want to tell you about the 8-week coaching. In the teachings, I will teach you about things you can do to improve certain things that may have come up in your HTMA, such as going into more depth on how to improve adrenal function, for example, and stress management techniques. And there will be nutrition tips in there, and there'll be how to deal with heavy metals in there, and we'll talk more about how to improve your metabolism in there. And I already mentioned we'll do the live at-home workout session. And if you're in a position to refer clients to me, I recommend you do the 8-week program, because then you'll know more about what you're referring. And I'm going to create the referral program, and I'll pay eligible people $25 per paying client that you refer to me. So this is a offer that I'm going to have open until the end of the day on Sunday. So if you purchase the 8-week program before 12 a.m. on Sunday, January 22nd, 2023, then you'll receive 50% off a basic mineral test plus consult. So you can either use that for yourself for a retest in 3 to 4 months, or you can give it to a friend or a family member. So that means if this is 50% off, you're only going to be paying $187 for this. And the 8-week program, which is currently priced at $536, is cheaper than you purchasing 2 of these basic minerals. So if you bought the basic minerals and then you wanted to retest in 4 months, then you would have to pay a total of $750, right? So this is a cheaper option than that. Okay. That's all. Thank you for listening. Can you guys let me know if there's anything you learned today, any takeaways you had, and let me know if you have any questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can talk to you. Just a moment. Okay.
Was that your first time doing a hair sample test? The test you just showed us?
Yes, actually it was. I did other tests when I went through the functional medicine process.
Right.
And this is one that my mentor, I started with her back in May. And so this is one that she recommended. So I've been studying up on it. And the more I learn about it, like just the more fascinated I am.
Every time I hear about it, I get more intrigued by it too. I'm not gonna lie, but now I'm kind of curious, like, when do you plan to get your next one to see your changes? How long do you think that would take, and to see changes on paper too, if that makes sense?
Yes. So about every 4 months or so, you
4
can
months.
retest if now this is something that would be good to check just like once a year, but if you're actively treating something, you could check it every 3 to 4 months if you
I'm
wanted
pretty
to.
sure mine's gonna be jacked up. I'm pretty sure mine's gonna be scary. If it's that bad, just don't even call me. Just,
Like you're dying, you're dead.
yeah, just
I'm not even gonna bother. No.
right. Send me an email. I don't check them anyway.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? What's something you learned today, Kim?
That, I didn't really realize that everything kind of hinges off of each other like that, to that degree. And that, what did you say? It was like synergistic, how those two minerals kind of play off each other. This is what's interesting. So if, like, kind of what Alan was saying as well. So I would be totally afraid of what's off for minerals for me right now. Cause like, not only, it's mostly women in here, I'm like starting premenopause. And now my doctor was like, I think you might have a thyroid problem too. So get that checked. I'm like, oh my God, great. Really? So, if you start on supplements to help, and I don't know if I do have an actual thyroid like problem, I don't know if minerals change that, help that, reverse that, or anything. So like, you start on a supplement plan and regimen, and you test again after, a couple months, 4 to 6 months or whatever. But then also, like, your daily diet itself, isn't it that going to throw that off? Like,
Well,
you know what I mean? Because if
with the
you're phasing
testing,
out supplements, yeah, like if you have a plan set out saying, these are the things you need to take because you're deficient in these areas, and then you start taking them and they're working now with your body, and then you test again, and like 5 of the 8 things were corrected with the supplements. Okay. And there's still some work that you have to do with these other ones. Like you said, you don't want to be on supplements forever. You can phase them out. So then you test again, you realize, let's just formulate these supplements for that. I would assume even like, so if the supplements are supplementing those deficiencies, but then you're still not getting them in your diet, would all that progress be reversed? Does that make sense?
yes.
Long-winded,
So
I'm sorry.
that's why I do recommend the dietary. In the dietary section, there's foods to eat more of and foods to eat less of. So hopefully you are making the changes that you need to change in your diet so that when we remove the supplement, you can cruise on your diet. But even sometimes though, you could be eating a good diet, but the soil or whatever is deficient in nutrients, and you could still develop nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah.
I mean, I eat pretty much better than anybody I know, and I have deficiencies, and I wasn't taking any supplements at all. So now I know which supplements I need to take.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question.
No problem.
Myra, do you have a key takeaway from tonight?
I think the key takeaway for me was to be mindful of over supplementation, because I do kind of have a habit of just automatically, I've always taken a woman's one of a day. I do take iron just because the doctor was like, you're 40, you should take iron. So it's definitely got me thinking, the value of having a test like that, even if you feel well, just check it and see, because I'm taking a lot of stuff. I don't even really know if I need it now. You know,
It's
that was a big
small
takeaway for me.
investment. Small
Yeah.
investment in yourself. That's all it is. Very small investment in yourself.
And I agree with Myra. There's probably things that I'm taking that I probably don't need, where I'm like, well, I am, 48. I should probably take calcium. I should probably
Right,
take,
right.
there's probably a ton of things that my body really just doesn't need right now at this, point. I mean,
Yeah. If you're taking calcium and your calcium's high, what are you doing?
right.
You could be causing a lot of
Building
damage.
a shed.
So that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, because I do take calcium. I'm like, that's why I asked about the calcium shell. I'm like, what if like I have too much calcium?
Yeah, that's what
causing
got
my
me too. Yeah.
fatigue.
The
And
calcium
like,
shell.
maybe it isn't my thyroid. Some of it probably is premenopause, but what if it really isn't my thyroid? I'm just taking too much calcium because I've been taking this damn supplement.
Y'all might not want to watch. Yesterday's video might freak you out a little bit too, because on the table, if it's a metal, if you get another metal and you're short on this one, guess what? You'll absorb all the metal. And watch yesterday's video too. It'll freak you out a little bit, man.
Definitely.
Yeah,
will.
I'll be honest with you. I think you're crazy. When I see people buying vitamins now, I want to ask them, have you done a hair sample? Because if you're not, you're wasting your damn money. Put that shit back and get your hair sample.
Yeah. So yesterday I went over why you shouldn't supplement just a supplement. I gave a lot of examples of
Yeah.
what things can raise what levels or decrease other levels and stuff like that. So that might be interesting for y'all to go back and watch.
It's kind of scary, people that do it religiously though, like lift weights and do all this stuff and they haven't took a sample. It's kind of, man, they could be overdoing it quickly.
So the actual hair sample, I think you made a TikTok about it or something, but you were saying like if you color your hair, like you have to wait because of like the,
yeah. So you can still get it done. You just want to grow your roots out a little bit because we are taking the hair closest to the scalp. So if you can just grow your roots out a bit, and then the sample can be collected from the undyed part of your hair. Yeah, so that I covered that in I think yesterday's video too.
Yeah.
Just a few takeaways, and then also if you're using anti-dandruff shampoo, those have minerals in them, or medicated shampoos often have minerals in them, like zinc or selenium. You'd want to stop those at least 3 weeks before your sample.
That's going to be
know.
scary because I color my hair and I go gray right here in a streak. I have like one streak of
Oh,
gray.
that'll look cool.
I wish I could do
Grow it
that.
out, man. That'd be badass.
Just fall
Grow out
around.
that white
You'll look
streak.
like a super villain.
That'd be awesome.
You're just gonna dye this part of your hair.
Right.
Color this
You're
part.
taking from back here.
Yeah. But it's a white streak right here. I just get it right here. So.
Maybe you can just dye that one part of your hair and let the rest grow out back here.
I could probably take it from the back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
Dude, you
supposed
gotta
to
take
come from
care
the
of
back.
you.
Yeah. So you have to clip, like, is it obviously like what closest to the scalp, right? Because you want to get that new growth.
Yeah, you want it
Right.
from at least 4 different spots. So I would usually say the like nape of your neck back here, and then maybe up here, little strands. And there's a video I would send you of me performing it on someone and explaining it to you. But there's
just to let you know, I
scale.
did mine from the nape of mine, like from the bottom. Yeah, and because I did it myself. Some people like have somebody else do it for them. And so it's a little bit
Tough.
easier for them to get something in the middle. I was not doing that. Just, I didn't feel comfortable, but, so that's exactly what I would say for you. Like,
Yeah,
if you're
Alicia's one
nervous.
of my colleagues. She also does the HTV. She's just here for support. She's launching.
No,
a
but
podcast.
and like I wear my hair up in a ponytail like most of the time. Like I see you have your hair and like you can't tell it all. Like it's already grown back, whatever, like it's not a big deal. I was afraid I would take a chunk somewhere. So
I'd probably.
I did the nape and that was fine. But I just want to encourage you.
Thank you, Alicia. She did the Macarena for me. She sent me a video. So did Alan
Awesome.
and yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't have any music playing, so I just hummed it a little bit. So my rendition was probably not as good, but that's okay.
All right. Does anyone have any final comments or questions?
I'm
No?
good. I'm thinking about ordering another kit, but for somebody else.
Did you have Luna do it too?
Yeah, me and Luna both have already done it and mailed it off, and I'm regretting it a little bit because I'm scared mine's gonna come jacked up now. So I'm gonna put Thea to
scared
work.
mine's
Thea's gonna have to
gonna
earn
be
her money on mine. She'll probably be like, no, this is a lot too much.
Yeah.
Like,
once you,
Alan,
once
You're gonna be like, Alan, what the hell are you eating and drinking?
Right.
yeah.
I don't eat a whole lot though. But I do chew my food very well.
Good.
Yeah. We'll see
I'm
what comes up. I'll be curious to know. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you're curious to know.
I am.
I was gonna say something, but then I forgot. Oh yeah. So something, in case you're wondering, once the lab receives your hair sample, within 2 weeks, you should have your results, and we would schedule a one-on-one to go over them.
You'll get the results, right?
I get the results. Yeah.
Okay. So it won't do me no good.
Yeah, I'll get the results and we'll schedule something, and I'll go over it with you, and I'll also send you the copy of the report. Like it won't be in the slideshow format, it'll be in a PDF format. But I'll go over all the same information just in a PDF, and you'll get the PDF.
Yeah.
And I also have a full script account where there's medical grade supplements, and I would email you from there a list of the supplements that I'm recommending. You could just click add to cart and buy them all, so that way you're not like, where do I buy this one? Which one do I buy? Which brand do I buy? What strength do I buy?
That's
It's all right
perfect.
there.
That's good.
If there's some that you don't want to do right now, when you click add to cart, I guess just delete the ones you don't want to do. Or if you're like, hey, this is too much, what are like the top 3 ones I can do, or whatever? You know, I can help you prioritize which ones are the most important.
I'm all in. Get it all done.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Thanks for singing me happy birthday. That was really sweet.
Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday.
All right. I'm going to end the call now. Have a good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.